What's up guys, it's Keefe. In today's video we are going over if dating is a waste of time for men these days. Now be sure to stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to explain how you can make this current system of relationships work for you that we've built in the 21st century. A lot of guys have become very cynical towards the process, and I want to show you a solution so that you can get everything you want. You can get the great relationship without all the pain and misery, and you don't have to become some cynical MGTOW kind of guy. Now before we get into that, I made this channel to build better men. So if you're a guy who's out there who's looking to improve his life in any way, hit the subscribe button and bell icon. I put out new videos every single day to help you do exactly that. So let's get into the video. Okay guys, so just to answer the question quickly, is dating a waste of time these days? My short answer is no, but there's obviously a longer answer, and that's what I want to get into this video, because what happens for most guys is they get into these serious relationships, and I did this as well, when they're not ready, and what happens is this backfires on you, and it makes you become very resentful because things don't work out for you, and then you think that the whole system's screwed up. But that's like trying to go to the gym and trying to bench 315 pounds when you've never even benched 225 pounds, and then getting the weight down on you, and you get stuck and it crushes you, and you just decide that the gym itself is the problem. The gym wasn't the problem, it's you tried to lift too much weight too early. So you need to make sure that you do this in the correct way. So a few things I want to get into this video. If done correctly, committed relationships are ideal, and I'm going to explain why in this video. The relationship dynamics have changed though, and this is the key thing. We're listening to our parents who grew up in a different situation, and we're also listening to like Disney fairy tales, all these different things. So we're not getting a clear perspective on the truth of relationships as they are these days. And also I want to talk about why you can be more than an animal. You can be an animal or a human at the end of the day, okay? I think a lot of these kind of like red pill, MGTOW kind of people, and I agree with some of what they say, they tend to think that we are basically just hairless apes with these really large brains, that pretty much the brain is used to rationalize our animal drives. And I just think that's far too reductionist. I think we obviously have a more spiritual side to us, a moral, a higher purpose to ourselves than just to be impulsive animals, okay? So we're gonna get into all that in this video. So, like I was talking about over here, the relationship dynamics have changed. There's a new paradigm. The old paradigm is gone, the new paradigm has come in. There are good and bad things to both, right? We've empowered both genders in the workplace. There's birth control. Like, there are ways to get around the old system where back in the day it was extremely important for men and women to get married and to have these long-term bonds, because it was very hard to survive in the world on your own completely, right? Like imagine being a man working on a factory 10-12 hours a day, and then you come home, your house is a mess, you got to eat food, you haven't ate anything, the yard's a mess. Like the idea of somebody to take care of the house and then somebody to go make the money, that made a lot of sense, right? Somebody had to take care of the kids because you can't do that. But nowadays we work these cushy jobs. Sometimes we don't even have to leave when we go to work. A lot of people work less hours. So the system has changed. And then, like I said, we've gotten birth control pills. So sex has become a lot more controlled. We've also got just, again, gender empowerment, both genders working regularly. So there's good and bad to both situations, but it's just to recognize that the paradigm has changed. So the old paradigm was you married young, you worked hard, you save your money, you have kids, right? It's like you build this life together. That was the whole idea of it. And that made sense again in a world where it was not so empowered for both genders, where it was like both genders had to come together to make a whole, make a one thing. And so in our current paradigm, the new situation is the idea that both people are complete individuals. They do their own thing, and then they kind of like merge those two individual lives together if they kind of like can cohabitate in a way almost. Again, good and bad to both situations, but basically the new paradigm is, rather than finding someone that you work it all out with, the new paradigm is you got to get your crap together and then find someone else who's got their crap together, okay? Rather than working through all the baggage together and building and going through the struggles together, we just don't do that anymore for a plethora of reasons. It's far too easy to have options. It's far too easy to get out of situations. We don't have the social expectations of not getting divorced. It's just an expected thing. You're probably going to get divorced and stuff like that. So the whole paradigm has changed. So if you're going into a relationship with this idea of this old paradigm, you are going to get screwed over. If you go into this new paradigm of I need to get my shit together and then I can find a girl who's worth my time because she's also gotten her shit together, then this can work, and it can work beautifully, okay? again, like I was saying, guys, we're more than hairless apes. I completely believe this. If you want to go out there and just chase ass for the rest of your life, have at it. I'm not here to judge you, but I think, again, these red pill guys, they've got this idea that we are just biology deep, but we have a left brain and a right brain, guys, and it's important to understand this because the left brain is more animal driven. It's the one where the animal drives come from, the impulses, all these kinds of things. Whereas your right brain is more of this like spiritual, higher evolved kind of creature. So the idea, and this is an idea of Christianity, this is an idea of a lot of religious beliefs, is the idea that we are born into sin. We're born, we have these drives, these passions, these vices, these things that control us, and your evolution as a human is to learn to civilize those kinds of things under the control of that right brain, higher conscious creature. And so to understand this is to say that a relationship is more than sex deep. And if you're looking at it completely for sex, then you're still looking at it from the animal brain. And again, I'm not saying that you have to stop doing that. This is your life. You can do what you want. I'm simply saying that there is another way to look at this. I firmly disagree with this idea that even like marriages and all this stuff is completely based on sex. I firmly disagree with that. So again, also relationships, if you can see this at the bottom of the screen, relationships are better for society. If you look at, I mean, this is why it is so batshit crazy that the Western world has started to promote the single motherhood thing so much. It's crazy because all the studies show that children raised in two-parent households do significantly better. Like all societies, if they want to succeed, they need to promote the family unit. So honestly, you could look at it as part of your duty as a proper man in society is to have a legitimate family. I don't want you to do this out of duty necessarily, but just to understand that you're not doing the world any favors if you're just some playboy polygamous person, like is kind of the popular thing in our society these days. The proper role of a man is to be head of his house and to have a family and to have children and to raise them properly and things like that. And you can't do that if you don't build this proper family bond. So the last things I want to get into is understanding, like I was talking about, this can be a horrible decision to get into a relationship or it can be a great decision. And it comes down to the whys that you're doing it and the when that you do it. Okay, so we want to start with why you should versus shouldn't get into a relationship. The shouldn't is if you want sex. There's way easier ways to get sex, and if you do this, you're going to wind up being needy and controlled by sex, right? You're going to just do whatever you want. You're going to become a doormat in the relationship because you're all about, you just want to get the sex out of the woman. So you're going to do whatever she says to get that. She's not going to respect you. The relationship's going to fall apart. Next one is if you want validation. If you're insecure within yourself and you need a woman to make you feel like you're worthy as a man, then that's not a good idea to get into a relationship for that. The next one is if you feel obligated. Part of our society tends to do this thing where it wants to force men to think that they have to get into a relationship. You need to like pay this woman's bills basically for the rest of her life, and that's stupid. You should do this when the right situation comes around. Again, like I said down here, relationships are better for society, but I don't want you doing this just because you feel obligated to do it. I want you to just do it from the understanding that it works better for society, it works better for you, but nobody should make you feel like you should have to get into a relationship. If the right situation doesn't come along, that's not your problem, that's that situation's problem, right? So when should you get into the relationship? If you're coming from a perspective where you're looking to give, right? If you're just trying to take sex or take intimacy or take validation, it's just not going to work, okay? It's just plain and simple. You need to go into these situations looking to give, not in the sense of like a nice guy kind of giving where you're giving to take and giving to force somebody to receive and like obligate them to give you things back. I'm talking about you're like, my cup's full. I want to give to somebody else. I want to share those kinds of experiences with someone else. When you have that mindset, things work out better for you. Next one is if you feel complete, which goes right along with that. You don't need somebody to validate you. You're feeling validated already. You're just adding to my life, but you can't affect my self-image, basically, is what you should feel. If you're ready to evolve, again, like I was talking about, we are more than these hairless apes, okay? You don't have to... It's not just about sex, right? You can go deeper than that. I mean, if you've ever been in a relationship, you know that uncomfortable feeling when you try to be vulnerable with somebody and it's like you really don't want to do it, but when you open up to somebody, and I know we don't want to act all vulnerable, I'm not saying you should turn into some emotional tampon or something, but I'm saying we know those moments when you have to be vulnerable, and it's like the relationships deepen, whether it's with a friend, whether it's with a relationship, and these experiences allow you to go deeper with people, to understand more about yourself, and to just have a happier life if you feel deeply connected to people. So if you're in a place in your life where you're ready for that, it's probably a good thing to consider. Along with that, ready for a family. I mean, this is obviously it. Again, if you're ready to have a family, if you're in that spot, if you've got the things that we're going to talk to down here about the when you should do it, if you've got those things in check and you're ready for a family, then again, probably a good time to look at a relationship. So, when should you or shouldn't you get into a relationship? You shouldn't if you're broke. I mean, that's obvious, right? The largest cause of divorces is actually, it's not cheating, it's actually financial problems. Next. If you haven't found your purpose, if you don't know why you're doing anything in your life, then you're just not going to be a real man in a relationship. Next, if you haven't developed as a man, you haven't gone out and built yourself, put in the work, and just kind of developed that internal sense of like, I'm a man, I've done these things. And if you don't have that frame about you, then you're going to get walked all over in a relationship. She's never going to respect you. And the last one, if you're lonely and insecure, a lot of guys get into relationships because they feel lonely. And the funny thing about this is, most guys get into a relationship in this situation, in all these shouldn'ts. They don't have their money together. They don't know what they're doing with their lives, and they feel lonely, and then the relationship completely falls apart. They get humiliated, they get needy and weak and all these things. And then they look at it and again, it's like going to the gym and trying to lift too heavy of weight. It's like the gym's not the problem. It's you tried to pick up too much weight too early. It's like most guys go into the relationship in this situation and then they get mad and act like relationships are the problem. It's no, you were the problem because you weren't ready, okay? So when should you get into a relationship? When you have the resources for it, okay? Again, when should you get into it? When you have the frame, when you've built that masculine frame, when you know yourself as a man, when you know your purpose and that resonates through you, because then you can't get knocked off center so easily. Again, purpose, like I talked about, when you know what you're doing with your life, because then it's just like this directs everything, right? And a woman wants a man who knows where he's going, right? And the last one, when you feel confident and complete. Again, you're not insecure, you're not lonely. I heard the story about Matthew McConaughey talking about how he met his wife. He said that it was one of the times in his life where he really didn't even want a relationship. He went out with some friends, he was totally happy just being with himself, and he saw the girl, and their relationship worked out perfect. And it's like when you come from it from that perspective of like, I'm totally happy, and then you find somebody great, it's like there's no trying to take and trying to control and trying to manipulate and all this stuff, because you're good with you, and so the relationship can last, all right? You want to set yourself up in a relationship so that there's no bumps in the road right off the bat. We have this romantic idea of like going through all the trials and tribulations together, but that's just a great way to have a bad relationship. I would recommend you just get your crap together first, all right? Maybe that worked back in the 20th century, early 20th century, but nowadays you need to have your crap together before you get into a relationship. Guys, as I've been mentioning, my Better Man coaching program is now live. This is my one-on-one coaching program where we speak every week and work to help you create your ideal life, become the ideal man. This means having the externals, having the relationship, having the money, having the body you want, as well as feeling like a man, having that purpose and that clarity about where you're going in life, and feeling confident in your ability to achieve your goals. If all of that sounds interesting to you, you can schedule a one-on-one consultation with me in the description box below. We'll speak on it and find out if the program is a good fit for you. I have limited availability, so if you are interested, go ahead and schedule that now. If you got something out of this video, guys, give me a like so I can reach more guys through the algorithm. Hit the bell icon and subscribe button so you don't miss new videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.